We're going to start our recording. All right, so today we're working on Cleanse Me, which is from Psalm 139:23. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Um, so I thought it would be, somebody goes, they weren't sure if we were making a reference to something else, but no, I actually did a private lesson. Actually, she's in this room with Catherine Ross. And I had said a couple weeks ago, we need to do an arrangement that is more organ driven and take advantage of what these instruments were originally intended to do. So that's kind of where we're going to go today, is doing something like that. But I also wanted to give us a little bit of a perspective, a change of perspective on on the on gospel music and church music. And so some people, if you're like me and you grew up Catholic, when you went to church, a lot of our music sounded more in this range of an arrangement. All right, so when I need to turn on original sound, I'm sorry about that. All right. And I skipped around a little bit there, but that's kind of, for a lot of us, this was how we heard the hymns. So if you came to church, that's what you expected to hear on Sunday morning at 7:30, because why does church have to be that early? So it had that very cathedral and traditional sound to it. So, and actually here, why don't I do this? Instead of playing a song that fits in every church, I'm actually going to use a song, Just a Closer Walk with Thee, as an example. All right, so that might be, one type of church at one time period. Now, nowadays, the churches blend their music and their styling so much that it is different. All right, now, but then, growing up in the South, I had friends who went to Southern Baptist type churches, and they had a guitar player playing, and you would hear, to me, something that sounded totally different to my ear. You would have, arrangements where, let me see what this is. That's fine. So you might still have that organ playing along, but it was very often just a singer and a guitar, a little drum, light music, and so on and so forth. Now, all right. So then, one of my other experiences one of the nice things about being a musician is we get to play in all kinds of musical situations. So from playing in almost every single Catholic church in this area I've played in at least once, some multiple times, but then also getting to go and experience church in a setting that is not where I would be normally expected to play or be at. And so what I mean is, I had a buddy, Clyde, who went to church on Eagle Street in Albany. And to describe Clyde, I'm 6'2", and right now I'm about 215, 218, somewhere in that range, because I gained the COVID 20. But Clyde was another inch or two taller than me, muscular. I mean, he had guns, and he was a big, strong black man. Is I should say. I would go with him to his church and play. And the first time I went, he goes, He goes, number one, Scott, don't talk to anybody. Don't open your mouth. Just come in, have your horn out, and be ready to play. That's all you need to do. And we go in, and the music we're hearing and experiencing is more along this kind of a feel. All right, and I remember thinking, they're allowed to do this in church, and going, well, this is fun, and being able to play all these different ad libs and all this just kind of fun with the music, really opened up my eyes, to a whole different type of playing. From so that kind of gospel music to all right, to more of that, just that very upbeat, lively. All right, so that lively, upbeat kind of feel. Now, in the Southern Baptist Church, in Southern churches, they had a similar take, but where the inner city churches up here had that that 2/4 strong, like to emphasize the second and fourth beats when they were playing. So you hear how the hands clapping on 2 and 4? So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, the claps are on 2 and 4, not on 1 and 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So instead of 1 and 3, then you go to the Southern church and all right, still has that liveliness to it, but it's just a slightly different approach. Now, having said that, I don't know if Warren's in here right now, but Warren Air on one of the Facebook pages posted a recording of singers performing this, and I made a comment, we're not doing this arrangement. And I would call it, I would say it would be more prototypical what you might expect my approach to be on the song. All right. And if you haven't heard that, if you go to our Keys fans, is it Keys fans? I can't even say it. On Facebook, you'll actually, you can hear a recording of something of this song being done in a more traditional manner. But we are actually going to take this and we're going to bring it to the inner city church, like we're in Chicago or if we're even in Albany even. All right, so let's start with this arrangement to demonstrate. All right, so I'm going to pull up the arrangement guide. Let me move this down for a second. So I'm going to try to enlarge this a little bit. For somebody made a comment that it would be nice if we could enlarge this some to make it a little easier to see as we write, like that. And I'll just move that over like that. There we go. So, so what we're going to do for the song "Cleanse Me," some of these button pushes are going to seem a little strange, especially at the beginning. All right, now I'm going to start with the basics. Number one, we've presumed you've just turned on the organ. If I stop my video share real quick, if I stop this and I put on my instrument view, you'll see my organ's just finished turning on. And I know it's just turned on because it says tempo 1, 2, 3. There are no rhythms on the organ that come up with a tempo of 1, 2, 3. It says chord C, transpose C, and in the screen on this model it says Sweet Lowry. Let me see if I can brighten that up a little bit. Now that we have better lighting in here, I should be able to have that a brighter setting. As you can notice, if you want to know what it used to be, here's what the lighting was before. So we've improved the lighting quite a bit in here. Ooh, I knocked my diffuser off a little bit. So I hope that helps see the buttons a little bit more clearly. All right, so this first button sequence is going to seem strange. So again, we've just turned the organ on. Now, because the only people who need to listen to this next step, if you own an Inspire, and only if you own an Inspire, only if you own an Inspire, every time you go to do one of our setups, you switch over to the vintage button being turned on. All right. Everybody else, either your vintage or your rhythm preset, is already defaults on. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this first step before I go back to showing it written down, because it's weird. We're actually going to turn on a rhythm style and then turn the rhythm style off. The organ, as its default setting, sounds like this. Sorry about that. I'm wearing sneakers. And playing bass pedals with sneakers on is not easy. So I have that Lowry sound that comes automatically on most of the Lowry instruments. The only exceptions are the smaller E series, the Fanfare, the Easy 10, the Easy 4, the Easy 8, the Easy 2, and the Easy 1. All those models turn on with a piano and string. All the other Lowrys turn on with an organ sound. All right, but the organ sound I want is more of what we would have expected in those inner city churches. And there was an organ company called Hammond that came out, I think it was in the 30s, with some of their first organs that could you could actually have them in your home. They were small enough. They were huge, but they were smaller than a church pipe organ. So an organist could practice on it and play at home and then be able to go into church and play. What happened was these Hammonds became such popular organs within the inner city churches that that sound became kind of one and the same with those with those type of churches. All right. So where the Catholic churches were putting these $100,000 pipe organs and pipes, and if you've ever been to St. Mary's in Albany, those of you here, if you've ever heard that pipe organ played at full, it is amazing. They do classical concerts on that pipe organ where people, organists from around the world come in and play at that venue. It is amazing. First time you play it, it can literally shake your stomach. And they have a true 32-foot bass. 32-foot bass. I don't even know if you can hear this note. All right. There's a note I'm playing, and I'm not sure it comes through the speakers. It's an octave lower than that note, and it rumbles. It's a pipe that goes underneath the seats. So when they play that, it vibrates where you're sitting. I had one of my customers who experienced this once, and they go, the first time I went to church here, I literally felt like Jesus was coming up through me. I was like, that's an interesting way to put it. So, because it literally just vibrates you. So this initial step, we lost our camera focus. There we go. Our initial step, again, we're going to choose a rhythm style because we want to change this organ from this to a more Hammond type organ sound. So I'm going to select the rhythm soulful. Now I happen to know soulful is in the 3/4 rhythm style on this model, and it's on the second page. And I'm just going to touch soulful. Here, listen to the sound I'm getting. Hammond type jazz organ sound, which is what I'm aiming for. All right, so I've turned on the rhythm to get this sound. Now I'm going to turn the rhythm off. So I turned it on and then turned it off. And the reason I did that is I'm still getting that sound stays with us. It doesn't go away. All right. So that part of this step, I wanted to demonstrate before I put it on your paper here. So you first touch soulful on, the rhythm soulful, turning it on, and then you turn it off. Now, if you do not have soulful on your instrument, it's a 3/4 time song. You can substitute the steps with one of the other 3/4 rhythm styles, one of the other waltzes. I would recommend, actually, you might be surprised by this, I'd actually recommend the country waltz if you don't have soulful. A vast majority, I think almost every single person in here today has it. There might be one or two that don't. All right, so then we're going to touch the easy button, turning it off. Whoops, sorry about that. You're going to touch the easy button and then touch memory, turning it off. And then we're going to go to our harmony duet. So I've already turned off and on and off the rhythm. I'm going to touch my easy button, turn off my memory. I'm going to go over to the other side of the instrument. Sorry, I need to move this to wherever your right hand harmonies are. Mine are way over here. I touch my right hand harmony and my screen comes up, and I'm going to touch duet. Okay. All right. Now, somebody asked me a question on Thursday. When we say harmony, we're always talking, 99% of the time, we're talking about upper harmony. If you have two options, it's always going to be the upper harmony. If it's ever different, if I ever want you to turn on any other harmony for the lower, I would be very specific about that step. Okay. All right. So there's registration 1, memorize A1, white, black, memorize. Now, that sounds like this. And you'll notice there's no rhythm with this beginning, and that's good because we're playing multiple notes in the melody here. All right, because, and by the way, you actually want to start with your thumb on the D and your F with your index. I'll demonstrate this later on. But so you can play that as fast as you want. You can play that as slow as you want. It doesn't matter, okay? But it's just an organ introduction. This is the way the organist would get everybody ready to come in. So okay, now the choir knows their first note, because within that chord, that melody note, the A, is being played by my middle finger if I'm playing the first chord. So it's easy to hear that first note of the song for the introduction. Okay? All right, let's go back up here. So I don't remember if I memorized that, so I'll do it again. Memorize A1, white, black, memorize. Now, our next stop is we're going to bring back in the soulful rhythm style, or our 3/4 rhythm style. I just touched 3/4 of my waltz to get back there. It comes back up to soulful. 78 is a little faster than what the rhythm turns on to. And we're going to turn off the lower sounds button, just the lower sounds. Okay, I'm on the right spot. All right, so I touched my rhythm style back on. I'm on Soulful. I adjusted my tempo up to 78. And in my lower section, in my tabs, there's a button called Lower Sounds. Again, if you haven't relabeled this, you should have. I don't want this on because it has a piano clunky sound in it, and I don't like that for the rhythm. I'm leaving this 8-foot flute on. Why? We're doing an organ arrangement. We want organ stops on. So the only thing I'm going to turn off is this lower sounds tab. Okay? That'll get rid of that setting that's going to get in the way for us. All right? So now this is the sound we end up with. All right, so nice, just relaxing song. Isn't it nice for us to choose a relaxing song to play, not make it play really super fast and complex? Oh, well, we must be aiming for something else. Oh, there's little extras we're going to throw in here too. But so that's that registration. Memorize A2, white, black, memorize. I'm going to actually demonstrate. I'm going to stop demonstrating the steps for a moment so you can write the next two down. Our next registration is to touch duet. All right, we're going back to the harmony. I don't think I need to demonstrate that because I think we know how that works. We touch our harmony, touch duet, memorize that to A3, white, black, memorize. Now, the next step, we're making modifications to the rhythm style by touching alter style, auto bass number 2, and we're bringing in harmony AOC. All right, so we grab alter style. So anytime we talk about a rhythm element, it's going to be over on the left side of our instrument. I grab alter style and auto bass 2. If you don't have alter style, you do have auto bass 2. Make sure we change to that, okay? And then in the screen, we're touching AOC. And that's it. That's registration 4. Memorize A4. What we are doing here is demonstrating how an organist would approach it without making us have to play 3, 4, 5 fingers in our right hand. We're letting the organ do a vast majority of the work for us. Okay? Oh, that registration, this is number 4 that we just did. Actually, I'll demonstrate 4, so that's the. All right. So it gives it that effect of a professional organist adding right-hand harmony on their own. And then we're going to go to what's called 4-part harmony. This is actually the more traditional harmony that you will hear in churches around the world. And no matter what state, what city, where you're at, 4-part harmony is one of the most common harmonies used. All right, so I'm going to grab that and memorize that to A5, white, black, memorize. I don't think we need to demonstrate that one, so I'm not going to. Our next, in fact, I don't think I need to demonstrate any more of these because they're all pretty straightforward and use the sections that we've talked about. Number 6, we're going to touch auto bass 1. We're going to turn off our alter style. We're going to touch preset number 3. We're then going to bring in our harmony, duet, and modulate to C sharp. That means transpose up one time. All right, and that brings us back to this. Okay, and we just memorize that to A6, white, black. Make sure that's memorized in there. The seventh step, actually, I will demonstrate this one. We're going to put in Orc 2 sounds. We're going to put choir ah. Those of you who can't have two sounds on in the orchestral, I'm going to recommend you just add the 16 and 8-foot flute. And maybe if you want to, you could add the vocal ensemble as a different as a different option. All right. Now, I gave Orc 2 sounds equals choir ah. That's number 195. I'm going to give you a couple ways to get there, but and everybody has one of the ways they can definitely do this. By the way, those of you, I just dawned on me, what you could then do if you don't have Orc 2, the Orc 2 sounds, you could in your Genius button or your Sounds button in orchestral section, you could just put the choir on there because your organ tabs will be on. So, all right, I'm going to demonstrate this. We will come back to it, I promise. Okay. Of course, now I have to remember what it said. Have you ever had one of those days where your brain just doesn't work? Okay, Orc 2, I got you. All right, so we want to put in our Orc 2 section, in that sound section, we want to have choir ah on. Okay, now no matter how we approach this, if I write all these steps down for everybody's instrument, it gets way too confusing for everybody involved. So I'm going to demonstrate it instead. Now, everybody could just turn on the Orc 2 sound button, and then in your screen it'll tell you what's there. And you can scroll. So if you're on a Premiere, you could scroll until you, or a Holiday Classic, you could scroll until you see choir ah, and it'll give you exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, those of you who have quick picks, actually I'll do quick picks last. Those of you who don't have quick picks but have keypad, you could type in 195 and touch your Orc 2 sounds button, and now the choir's there. If you have quick picks, you could touch choir ah and touch your sounds tab. All right. Now, before we can go anywhere, I need to make sure that both orchestral buttons are running through this upper keyboard. Okay, because right now they're not. So I need to make sure the upper is lit in my Orc 1 and Orc 2 section. This means if you're on an A series or S series, we need to have Orc 1 sound on and Orc 2 sound on also, and it should be blinking. So if you're on an A series, you're going to hold Orc 1 sound, touch Orc 2 sound, make sure only the upper is lit because we do not want any lower rights on in the orchestral section. If lower right is lit, you turn it off. Because if you have a blinking light, if you're on a Legend, Prestige, Imperial, Sterling, Liberty, if you have a solid light on and a blinking light and your lower right is lit, the blinking light will be on the third keyboard down there, not here. All right, so that's something we've demonstrated a number of times, I know. Now, everybody needs to have at this point in the screen, you see how I see choir ah near in the screen? I want to edit that octave. That octave is going to be too high. Honey bear, settle. So I'm going to touch where it says edit, and then I'm going to touch where it says octave, and I'm going to scroll down one time. Here's why. Listen to the choir if I leave it up here. those singers are screaming because they're too high. So we're going to move them down one octave because we're playing. I will write this in our music later. We are going to be playing 8VA. And again, I'm not sure how this comes through at home because it sounds great here. If it doesn't sound great in the recording or in the video you're watching or the class that you're in, just know it does sound really good in person. Okay. Now, let's go back to that screen so we can see that. That should be number 7, so I'm going to memorize that to A7, white, black, memorize. So, and now we're going back to go through the harmonies again. I'm going to go back to my harmony, AOC. I'm turning on my alter style, and we're turning on auto bass 2. All right. And we're going to memorize this to A8. White, black, memorize. I knew there was something I forgot at the pharmacy today. We'll do that this afternoon. All right. I memorize that A8, white, black, memorize. All right. Then number 9, we're going to the 4-part harmony. Memorize A9, white, black, memorize. These steps got easy at the end. That's why I kind of blow through them pretty quick. And 10, we're just going to turn off the rhythm for the ending. I don't actually want this to have an ending because we're doing enough of an ending with the chords we're playing. All right. So it gives it that finality at the very end of the song. Okay. Because we're here. Okay. All right. I just wanted to give people a little more time to finish writing at that point, just so everybody has what they were, just making sure everybody has that done and on their notes. I apologize for the puppies going crazy today. All right. So gives it a really live, crisp sound for this registration. I really like where this goes. If you have, so a couple things. If you're sitting at home, and again, it doesn't sound right on the instrument you're playing or in the space you're playing in, don't feel like you have to stay with exactly what we're doing here. What sounds good in this room in my house is going to be different than what sounds good in your house because, like I said, I have slate floors underneath me. I have a stone bar over to my left. I've got that wood stove back over on this side. I've got brick behind me. I've got a cathedral ceiling in the room I'm in. It's 12-foot ceilings, maybe higher. Actually, I think it's higher. It's probably 15. All right, so don't feel like it's going to be the same sound here is going to work in your house. So don't be afraid to edit. If you're playing along and something doesn't sound right, fix it. Change it to something you prefer. You'll never hurt my feelings on that. The concept I want you to understand, but the overall sound, if you want to change it to make it better in your ear, that's always a good idea. Okay. All right, I'm going to demonstrate this registration. Um, oh no, we shouldn't do that. Let's talk about the fingering. So right at the beginning, how you start matters because on the version we are playing, actually, I'm going to share the screen. Why does that change like that? I want that over on the left. Sorry about that. It's not going to work. All right. So one thing I'm going to suggest again, if you haven't already set yours up so you can see the keyboard screen, I know some of you have said it's a little too small. Um, that is something that can be adjusted. I'm actually gonna, because I'm recording this, you could go back and see what I'm doing in the button pushes to make it so you can see it. And one of the nice things I think is the fact that you can go back and watch these classes. They are all up on the website. The last couple of them, the last 4 or 5, I think, are up on our website on the class material page if you didn't know this. All right. So let's add a little fingering here. I'm just going to skip to the punch here. You start with 1 and 2. So if you've started there, everything else kind of forces itself to do something. All right. So but just to be clear, those are ones. Underneath the 4 and the 3, those are ones. And then this is 1. That becomes 2 and 4. And this is 2 and 5. And if we watch the hand, now, normally this would have a third note being played. But the beauty of the arrangement we're doing, when we play the chord here in our left hand, with the notes that we're playing, it's going to add the missing third note, which makes this a makes it a harmony that you can play and accomplish and practice doing double note melodies. Okay. Now, if you do not, here's an option. If you do not want to have to play the 2 notes, don't feel like you have to. What I would do is make an edit to registration number 1. You have to change number 1 from duet harmony to AOC. Listen to how this sounds when I do the harmony myself again. I did the wrong fingering. But now I'm going to use AOC and only play the high note. Okay, so if you don't want to have to do all that extra work at the beginning of the song, playing the double note melodies, just play the high note, but make sure you change arrangement number 1. Instead of duet, you are using AOC. All right. Now, with the rest of the song, the only rule I would follow is make sure that when the highest note of a phrase is a black key, that we don't play that black key with our pinky. So what I mean is if we look at this note, which is the highest note of that first between registration 2 and 3, I do not want to play that black key with my pinky. It should be my 4th finger. And we can simply do this by playing this A with the 3rd finger. All right, and so now that looks melody-wise. All right, then we change to number 3. I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta clear those annotations out. Whoops. Which means I need to screen capture this before I do that. So.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
On page 1, you have G7, but my copy don't have, and a D at the bottom.
Oh, mine's a lot different than yours. Oh, wait. Which for? Yeah, which one did you print, Catherine? Here, hold on. Let me hold on. Let me go back here. Where's Catherine? Catherine. Where are you, my dear? All right, say something real quick, Catherine.
Yeah.
Just say hello, Scott.
Hello, Scott.
There we go. Can you hold your music up so I can see it? That's the right one.
It is?
Yeah. I think I have the right version up here, right? Unless you have the advanced version. I
have 2 versions here.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have the D on either one. But G7, I don't see.
I'm not sure, Catherine. I'm not sure why that is.
I don't either.
All right, we'll figure it out. I'll look at it between class and make sure I get you the update on this. Now, so the next section, after we change to number 3, you're playing the F with the 1, with the thumb again. All right. Then the song just repeats itself. Okay. So we follow the same rules we followed before. That's why I don't think fingering is going to make the world the difference here. Okay. Because after you've started it out, it really just kind of hangs out there the rest of the song. So the fingering. All right, so I did run into a little. Actually, I have a different version of the song in my head. I apologize, everybody. Because I add so many notes sometimes that I have a different version that I hear. I didn't go down far enough to notice the low E here. Because of that, we actually have to plan a little bit more strategic. That F, I think 2 would be better. And then then just play this G with 1 and that G sharp with 2. All right. So that'll make and then it goes back to the same phrase as the beginning. I looked too far down the music when I talked about the fingering. All right. So just little things like that'll make a difference. So again, start with and so you can do that, and then you just come back with the registration change. Okay. Now, one of the nice things about playing in this genre or this style of gospel music is that you can actually use quite a bit of ad-libbing when you play, and you know, so even like the very beginning, I played the low note and I glissandoed up, and then cycled my finger to be the right finger. All right, so nice little, you know, you can have all these little ad libs with this kind of this style of music. You'll notice I was using grace notes. All right, so experiment with using a little bit of here and there. When you have big skips in the melody, you could do the run up. All right, so you could go. Whoops. So you could do little chromatic glisses. You could just do a scale wise. All right. So playing around with some of this, it's just kind of fun. All right. All right. Let's demonstrate this. All right. All right, here we go. Actually, I want to put this in full view. Somebody mentioned this, it's better when we do this part of the playing when you have it in full view on the playback on the recordings. It doesn't probably benefit anybody if you're in full screen, you're seeing it the way that it is right now on mine. This is more for when you watch it back on YouTube. And I don't remember how the chords end in that version of the song. I apologize for the timing mistake there. I was getting distracted by a puppy going crazy, so there's something outside again. Um, but I want to play that ending again for y'all. Yes, okay. So this ending, I did leave in some of it. Okay. So we do have a double note melody again here. And all right. So I see what I did. Go back to the key view. This is the problem with having 14 different versions of the same song and only one of them up on the TV. All right. So this ending. So I'm going to do it without rhythm once just so you can see it slow. All right. The tricky part I find is I find it easier to play this E with my pinky. The problem I always have when I do that I don't move my pinky out like that to get there. So my recommendation on this end, even though this is a little awkward, is to play the E with your fourth finger. Is you play the C, the E with your fourth finger, and the C with your third finger. So it's this. And we've said we try not to pigeon toe between these two fingers, but the one that I try to avoid at almost all cost is my pinky moving, because it likes to go half keys. It likes to, when you spread it out, it likes to miss by hitting the half key like that. All right. So you play the E with your fourth finger. All right. So when we put that, and the other thing, and don't play this ending fast. There's nobody. They're not going to go like this. They're going to milk that ending for everything it's worth. All right. So I want to go. All right. I use the FX and went stop instead of hitting number 10. You can do that instead of hitting number 10, but it accomplishes the same thing. So I like the experimenting with the double note melody in this just because it adds it adds enough to the music to make it interesting. But try to get that E with the fourth finger and that C here. Okay. Now, as you've noticed, as I was playing this entire song, middle C is here, and I was playing up an octave higher. Okay. So the entire song is played 8 VA. It's easier to just, when you're playing the organ with the big harmonies, just to move it up instead of changing all the settings to make that work. Okay.